Hi Harry, so how did the XJS concept come about? How did Jaguar come to build it?
Well, you've got to remember that the E-Type came out in 1961, so it's probably past its sell-by date when it came to replace, and the XJS arrived with us in September 1975, and the 70s was a tricky time for car manufacturers because there was a lot of legislation coming in and they weren't quite as free. And when Sir William Lyon sort of envisaged what they were going to replace the E-Type with, it was a super sports car. And then Malcolm Sayer wanted to do a more streamlined car and a stiffer car, different construction. So the XJS was born, but it was going to be a convertible as well as a coupe. And then legislation came in the States and it had sent them back to the drawing board. And it ended up as this coupe as we then was launched with the flying buttresses and no convertible. So it confused people, I think, when it first came out, because everybody expecting this E-Type replacement, which was available in convertible and coupe form, but only the XJS came out in coupe form. Although it was very well liked, it did what it was meant to do, and it was much quicker, much stiffer, much more refined. The market was confused. It wasn't an E-Type replacement. That's the history when it first came out.
So you own two, is that correct?
Well, I do own two. I've got a collection of all sorts of cars, not just Jaguars, and I've always been intrigued by the XJS. I remember the first time I saw one was it was in the paddock at Alton Park in 1975, and it just looked this sort of glamorous car, almost like the Italian coupes. You know, we had Daytonas there and things like that, and this XJS looked very different to what I thought a Jaguar used to be. But it really looked the part, and I've always just been intrigued by them, especially when I knew they made a manual one as well. So I found a very early one and a manual one. So for my sins, I own two XJSs.
So do you do all the work on it yourself, or?
Well, fortunately, I bought one that had been utterly pampered throughout its life and basically needs no work. But no, I don't really work on them. We've got Jaguar Heritage now set up at Browns Lane, so if it needs anything, you can pop up to there. And we've got guys in the workshop who were building these brand new, so they know them pretty well.
So is this the first time that Jaguar Heritage has had a stand at this show?
Well, yes, at this restoration, its first show we actually did was last year in November, and then we've come here because the guys here really work on the car. So what we're launching here is we're making more parts available for the XJS and the Series 1, Series 2 XJ as well. So we just wanted people to recognise that we really recognise this part of our history. Jaguar history doesn't stop at E-Type, it's going to go on into the 70s and 80s with this car here.
Of course, this year the HSCC have brought out a Jaguar Heritage Series for all Jaguars around about the 1960s.
Yes, they have. Unfortunately, XJS is included, but that's a sort of initiative that we've got behind as well. I'm amazed how much racing there is with Jaguar in the back seat. It's a very popular, it's a British marque, loads of parts available, and it's just a great scene when you see XJs and E-Types all mingling in with the Mark IIs and stuff. So I'm not surprised it's so popular.
Well, the racing series for the XJS has been going for a few years, yeah. And there's normally a full grid of cars. You get at Silverstone, at Alton, I've seen it, always a full grid.
Yeah, well, I've been sort of tempted by it because it's a great big car. The values were sort of on the floor. It's a V12. It's pretty chuffing quick, easily tweakable. The great thing about these sort of historic racing series, you've had decades to work out what works and what makes them quick and what doesn't. Those of them about, so I think they're hugely appealing. But I have to say, my cars are going to stay as road cars. I like the refinement, but I do look at the classifiers and think, oh, that's quite tempting. These race-prepared XJS, go and do some hill climbs with it or something like that.
Well, thank you very much for the interview.
No problems, Graham. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.